Chapter 1. The fan who never misses a show. No one ever noticed him. That was the point. Nile Anderson blended into crowds the way shadows did. Present, unavoidable, yet never remembered. Tonight, like every other night Jasper Thornwood performed, Nile stood among thousands of screaming bodies, hood pulled low, glasses dull and cheap, posture deliberately unremarkable. No one here knew that the man pressed against the barricade was the CEO of Anderson Global Solutions. No one knew his face from magazine covers, his name from boardrooms, or his hands from bloodless corporate executions. Here he was only a fan. Only Jasper's fan. The stadium lights dimmed, the air trembled, and then Jasper Thornwood stepped onto the stage. The scream that tore through the crowd was deafening. Rockstar, Enigma, Mafia, heir. Jasper wore sin-like second skin, leather jacket hanging open, throat bare, mic gripped like a weapon. His voice shattered the first chord, raw and feral, and Nile's breath hitched the way it always did. Years ago it had started with admiration, talent, charisma, that beautiful defiance in Jasper's eyes when he sang like the world owed him worship. Then admiration became routine. Routine became necessity. Necessity became hunger. Now, Nile measured his life in Jasper's tours. In his penthouse apartment, hidden behind biometric locks and soundproof walls, there was a room no one else had ever entered. A shrine. Guitar picks, carefully labeled by tour date. Sweat-stained towels, sealed in sterile bags. A cracked glove Jasper had thrown into the crowd after a bar fight, still dark with dried blood. Nile touched none of it before concerts. Superstition demanded restraint. Tonight, though, his gaze never left the stage. Jasper sang like he always did. Too close to the edge, eyes wild, voice soaked in longing and violence. He prowled the stage, teasing the crowd, feeding on their devotion. And then, his gaze snapped up, locked, straight onto Nile. Nile's heart stopped. Impossible. He was disguised. The glasses, the cap, the deliberately dull clothes. He designed this persona carefully, just another body in the crowd. Yet Jasper's gaze stayed, not scanning, not guessing, recognizing. Jasper's lips curved, not into a grin meant for fans, but something smaller, private. His fingers tightened around the mic. He sang the next line slower, lower, eyes never leaving Nile. Something electric passed between them, sharp and intimate, like a blade dragged gently across skin. Nile swallowed. He sees me. On stage, Jasper felt it too. He always did. Among millions of fans, one presence stood out like a pulse under skin. Familiar, steady, watching him not with awe, but ownership. This fan never screamed, never jumped, never begged. He just watched. Jasper had noticed him years ago. Different cities, different countries. Always there. Always silent. Always looking at him like Jasper was something already claimed. Most would have been afraid. Jasper Thornwood wasn't most. Backstage after the concert, sweat cooling on his skin, Jasper lit a cigarette and laughed softly. "Did you see him again?" his bandmate Luca asked, towel slung over his shoulder. Jasper exhaled smoke. "I always do." Luca frowned. "That guy creeps me out." "Don't," Jasper said, tone sharp. "He's loyal." Luca hesitated. "Your ex-drummer was asking about you again before." "Was," Jasper corrected calmly. The drummer had died 2 weeks later. Officially, an overdose. Then came the ex-boyfriend, mangled car wreck, declared tragic. Then, the rival idol, career-ending injury, vocal cords ruined beyond repair. Patterns formed, whispers followed. Jasper listened to all of it with indulgent amusement. Because he knew. Someone was removing obstacles for him. Someone loved him correctly. Across the city, Nile stood in his penthouse, removing his disguise with slow precision. The glasses went into a drawer, the cap placed neatly aside. The mirror reflected his real self, sharp suit, controlled expression, eyes dark with devotion. On his phone, Jasper's face filled the screen. Alive, untouched, still his. Nile smiled. They won't bother you anymore, he murmured. I'll make sure of it. On the stage, Light's reflection still burned in Jasper's eyes when he finally crushed his cigarette and said softly to no one at all, "Find him." Because now that he'd recognized his fan, Jasper Thornwood wanted to see what his obsession looked like in the light, and what kind of alpha would worship an Enigma enough to destroy the world quietly for him. Chapter 2. You kill for me, I kill for you. Jasper Thornwood had always known how to hunt. It was in his blood, older than music, older than fame. Long before the world knew his name as a rock star, the underworld whispered it with reverence and fear. Thornwood was not a surname one crossed lightly, and Jasper was its heir. The first person to notice the shift in him was his uncle. Lucian Thornwood watched Jasper from the shadows of the private lounge, glass of whiskey untouched in his hand, eyes sharp with familiarity. He'd raised Jasper after his parents, taught him the rules of power, loyalty, and violence. He knew obsession when he saw it. "You're distracted," Lucian said calmly. Jasper didn't look up from the tablet in his hand. "I'm curious." Ian hummed. "That's worse." Jasper smiled faintly. The man on the screen was standing at a shareholder meeting, posture relaxed, voice steady, clean-cut, composed, dangerous in a way that didn't announce itself. Nile Anderson, CEO, Alpha, fan. Gone were the cheap glasses and hood. Gone was the anonymity. Jasper leaned back, eyes roaming over Nile's sharp jaw, controlled expression, the way his presence dominated the room without effort. "So that's what you look like," Jasper murmured, pleased. Lucian studied the screen. "You're telling me this is the one who follows you across continents?" "Yes." "And you're certain?" Jasper tilted his head. "I've never been wrong about someone watching me." Lucian sighed, already resigned. "What do you want to know?" "Everything." The investigation unfolded quietly. Mafia resources moved like veins beneath the city, unseen, essential. Phone records, financial trails, background checks so deep they scraped childhood scars. And what they found was immaculate. No arrests, no scandals, no criminal history. Nile Anderson was spotless. Too spotless. Jasper's fingers tapped against his knee as reports stacked higher. "Nothing?" he asked, incredulous. Lucian shook his head. "If he's killed anyone, he didn't leave so much as a fingerprint." Jasper laughed softly, eyes alight. "That's beautiful." Lucian studied him carefully. "You're enjoying this." "How could I not?" Jasper said. "He's precise, disciplined. He removes problems without drawing attention." A pause. "And he does it for me." That realization sent something electric through Jasper's chest. The deaths, the accidents, the silenced voices. None tied back to Nile legally, but Jasper felt it. The way an Enigma sensed devotion, the way others sensed fear. "He has corporate rivals," Lucian added. "Cutthroat ones. A few of them had personal interest in him." Jasper froze. "Romantic?" he asked, slowly. Lucian nodded. "Obsessive, in some cases. If given the chance, they'd touch him," Jasper said flatly. Lucian didn't deny it. Something in Jasper snapped. Not violently, not loudly. Just a clean, cold break. His expression softened into something almost serene. "That won't happen." Lucian hesitated. "Jasper, they wanted what's mine," Jasper continued, voice smooth. "Even if Nile doesn't know it yet." That night, 3 men vanished. One drowned during a private yacht trip. One overdosed in a luxury hotel room. One disappeared so thoroughly his name was scrubbed from corporate databases. Efficient. Quiet. Lucian watched the aftermath with something like pride and concern. "You're certain about this path?" he asked. Jasper leaned against the balcony railing, city lights reflecting in his eyes. "He already kills for me," Jasper said softly. "I'm just returning the favor." Across the city, Nile stood in his office long after midnight, unaware of the blood spilled in his name. He reviewed contracts, mind sharp, heart steady, until his phone vibrated. A single notification. Backstage access. Jasper Thornwood. Tonight, Nile stared at the screen. Slowly, reverently, he smiled. Backstage, Jasper adjusted his rings, pulse steady, anticipation curling warm and dangerous in his gut. This wasn't a trap. It was an invitation. Their first agreement, unspoken, unbroken. You kill for me. I kill for you. And now, Jasper Thornwood was ready to meet the alpha he intended to keep. Chapter 3. We're not sick. Everyone else is. Nile Anderson had known the moment Jasper Thornwood started digging. It came quietly, through a secure channel, a voice he trusted, a single line spoken with careful neutrality. Your idol has asked questions about you. Nile had closed his office door after that, locked it, and laughed. Not softly, not politely. He laughed like a man who had just been chosen. For years, he had loved Jasper from a distance, controlled, deliberate, restrained only by patience and intelligence. He had never deluded himself into believing Jasper was unaware. An enigma like Thornwood felt attention. He only chose when to acknowledge it. And now Jasper was curious. Nile's informants kept him informed with ruthless efficiency. The Mafia resources, the background checks, the way Jasper had stared at his real face for too long. Nile replayed that footage himself, watching Jasper's expression soften, sharpen, warm. He likes what he sees, Nile murmured. Then came the deaths. 3 names, 3 rivals, 3 men who had looked at Nile and seen more than business. One had hinted over whiskey that Nile would make a beautiful spouse. Another had sent flowers. The third, too bold, too foolish, had proposed marriage outright weeks after returning from one of Jasper's concerts. That man no longer existed. Not imprisoned, not buried. Erased? Nile didn't need confirmation. He knew. Jasper Thornwood had heard about the proposal and had not tolerated it. The thought made Nile's chest ache pleasantly. He wants me, Nile whispered to the empty room. Enough to kill. Backstage smelled like smoke, metal, and adrenaline. Jasper's bandmates lingered casually, too casually for anyone paying attention. Luca leaned against a table, arms crossed. Mara checked her phone. Theo watched the door. Family. Not by blood, but by debt. All of them had worked for the Thornwoods long before they ever played instruments. Jasper paced once, twice, then stopped. What if he's uncomfortable? Jasper muttered. Lucien Thornwood lounged on a couch nearby, utterly entertained. You? Nervous? I should take a picture. I'm serious, Jasper snapped. This isn't... The door opened. Nile stepped in. No disguise, no pretense. Sharp suit, calm eyes, alpha presence so controlled it bordered on lethal. The room shifted. Every head turned. Nile smiled politely. Good evening, he said, nodding to the bandmates first. I've heard a lot about you. Luca blinked. You know who we are? Nile inclined his head. Family is important. Jasper stared. Nile greeted them first. Not him. Jealousy flared hot and irrational in Jasper's chest. Lucien burst out laughing. Oh, this is going to be fun. The door shut behind them. Privacy, relative but sufficient. Jasper faced Nile, eyes dark, searching. You knew, Jasper said. Nile didn't pretend. The moment you searched. Silence stretched. Then Nile exhaled slowly. I know I'm not normal, he said calmly. I killed them because they didn't love you right. No dramatics? No apology? Just truth. The bandmates froze. Lucien's laughter faded into sharp interest. Jasper felt something click into place. I killed them too, Jasper said softly. Nile's eyes flickered. My rivals, Jasper continued. The ones who wanted you, the one who proposed. Nile's breath hitched, just slightly. You couldn't stand it, Nile said, wonder creeping into his voice. Jasper stepped closer. Neither could you. They stared at each other and understood. They weren't hunter and prey. They were mirrors. Jasper's hand lifted, hesitated, then rested possessively at the base of Nile's neck. "My husband," Jasper said, tasting the words. "You already act like one." Nile smiled, slow, reverent. "I was waiting for you to say it." Around them, no one moved. Theo cleared his throat. "So, should we congratulate you?" Lucian clapped his hands together. "Oh, absolutely." Jasper didn't look away from Nile. "You're not bothered by them?" Nile shook his head. "They're yours. That makes them mine." That answer made Jasper's heart stutter. Lucien rose, grinned sharp. "Well, I think it's time we tell the rest of the family." Jasper swallowed. "Already?" Lucian laughed. "You're bonded in everything but blood. The Thornwoods will adore him." Nile met Jasper's gaze, unwavering. "I'm not leaving." Jasper smiled, wide, feral, relieved. "We're not sick," Jasper said quietly. Nile leaned in. "Everyone else is." And in that moment, with witnesses, with blood already spilled, with a Mafia family waiting, their romance sealed itself shut, not with vows, but with mutual ruin. Chapter 4. Mafia blood, alpha devotion. The Thornwood estate had survived wars, betrayals, and blood feuds. It had never, however, prepared itself for Jasper Thornwood bringing home a man. The mansion sprawled across the hillside like a living beast. Black iron gates, marble corridors, ancestral portraits staring down with judgment sharpened by centuries of violence. Nile Anderson walked beside Jasper without hesitation. That alone earned him respect. Lucien Thornwood, Jasper's youngest uncle and proud instigator of this entire chaos, clapped his hands together the moment they entered the grand hall. "Well then," Lucien announced cheerfully, "this is the alpha who's been killing people for my nephew." Nile smiled politely. "Only the ones who deserved it." The silence that followed was brief. Then, Jasper's mother, Elena Thornwood, leaned forward, eyes sharp and assessing. "You poisoned a man because he proposed marriage to my son?" "Yes, ma'am." She nodded approvingly. "Good instincts." Jasper exhaled in relief. His father, Victor Thornwood, the reigning patriarch, studied Nile over steepled fingers. The room waited. Victor had ordered massacres with that same stillness. "You have no criminal record," Victor said. Thiel inclined his head. "I don't like sloppiness." Victor's lips twitched. "That will do." Jasper's older brother, Sebastian Thornwood, laughed openly. "Finally, someone worse than you." "I learned from the best," Nile replied calmly. Sebastian liked him instantly. The eldest uncle, Augustine Thornwood, frowned deeply. "He's an alpha." "And?" Jasper challenged. Augustine sniffed. "At least he's loyal." That sealed it. Aunt Maribel Thornwood was already planning. "Black roses for the wedding. Or red. Or both. We'll discuss later." The cousin, Theo Thornwood, far too young to be as terrifying as he was, grinned. "Can I be best man?" Lucien wiped a tear. "This is better than reality television." Jasper stood there, stunned. They weren't resisting. They were delighted. Victor rose. "If he is yours, Jasper, then he is Thornwood." Nile's chest tightened. Jasper reached for his hand without thinking. From that moment on, the rules changed. Nile became more than a lover. He became executioner and shield. Corporate enemies vanished. Threats to Jasper's tours disappeared mid-sentence. Paparazzi who crossed lines lost contracts or teeth. Jasper remained untouchable on stage. A king idol adored by millions. Behind the curtain, Nile stood like a shadow with a pulse. Anyone who flirted too boldly, gone. Anyone who touched too familiarly, corrected. Anyone who looked too long, raced. Their love language was efficient violence. At dinner one night, Maribel casually asked, "Did you handle the producer?" Nile nodded. "He won't bother Jasper again." Elena passed him more food. "Eat more. You're working hard." Jasper watched it all with dazed affection. "They love you," he whispered later. Nile kissed his knuckles. "They're your family. And you're mine." Wedding preparations began within weeks. Lucien insisted on fireworks. Sebastian wanted live weapons displays. Elena argued for tradition. Victor simply said, "It will be unforgettable." Jasper leaned into Nile one evening, laughter soft and dangerous. "You killed for me first." Nile smiled. "You killed for me too." Outside, the world whispered about power and madness. Inside the Thornwood mansion, they planned a wedding soaked in devotion, blood, and joy. Untouchable, unrepentant, perfectly insane. And the Thornwoods wouldn't have it any other way. Chapter 5. Marked in plain sight. The world found out on a stage built for confession. Jasper Thornwood stood beneath blinding lights, fingers laced firmly with Nile Anderson's, the crowd stretching endlessly before them, fans, cameras, history waiting to be rewritten. His voice didn't shake. "I've lived my life under a spotlight," Jasper said, tones unwavering, "and for a long time I thought that meant I belonged to everyone." The crowd hushed. "But I was wrong," he continued, turning fully toward Nile. "I belong to him." Gasps, screams, tears. "This is Nile Anderson," Jasper said simply. "My husband." The stadium erupted. Not outrage, not betrayal. Support? Chants rose like a wave. "Jasper, Nile, Jasper, Nile." Fan banners appeared within hours. Edits, hashtags, shipping names that trended worldwide. The world didn't tear them apart. It embraced them. Back at the Thornwood mansion, Lucien wiped his eyes dramatically. "I knew this family would end up in a documentary." Elena Thornwood clasped her hands. "They're perfect." Victor only nodded. "Untouchable." The wedding itself was excessive. Black marble aisles, red roses, armed guards in tailored suits. Jasper wore velvet and sin. Nile wore white and steel. When they kissed, the Mafia family applauded like proud conspirators. Marriage softened Nile in subtle ways. Not weaker, never that. But gentler with Jasper, warmer, smiling more. Jasper noticed everything. He noticed how Nile still ran his company with ruthless precision, how board members paled when his alpha spoke, how the world bent just as easily for Nile as it did for a Thornwood. At night, Jasper clung to him greedily, unable to get enough. "You're prettier married," Jasper murmured once. Nile huffed. "You're biased." "Territorially," Jasper agreed. It was 4 weeks into marriage when Nile led Jasper into a locked wing of their penthouse. "I want to show you something," Nile said. The door opened. Jasper froze. Walls lined with memories, photos, ticket stubs, guitar picks, towels sealed carefully, handwritten lyrics Jasper had thrown away long ago. A shrine. Not grotesque? Reverent? "You kept everything," Jasper whispered. "I loved you before you loved me," Nile said softly. Jasper crossed the room and kissed Nile's temple. "Good," he said. "You did it right." 4 months later, the Thornwood mansion descended into chaos. Nile collapsed mid-conversation. Doctors were summoned. Lucien paced. Sebastian swore loudly. Elena prayed and threatened someone simultaneously. When the doctor finally spoke, the silence was deadly. "He's pregnant." Nile stared at the ceiling like he'd just seen a ghost. Jasper stared at him like he'd been handed the universe. The room exploded. "Oh my God. I told you." 4 months, Jasper? You couldn't wait a year? Jasper smirked. "What can I say? I'm talented." Nile groaned. "I'm going to murder you." Jasper immediately hovered. "You can't threaten me anymore. You're carrying my child." Victor cleared his throat. "Security will be doubled." Elena was already planning nurseries. From that moment on, Jasper became unbearable. No sharp objects near Nile? No stressful meetings? No stairs without supervision? You're breathing too fast, Jasper said once. I'm walking, Nile replied. Dangerously. They were happy. Dangerously, obsessively, loudly. And as Nile slept one night, Jasper rested a hand over his stomach, smiling softly. Our world just got bigger, he whispered. Somewhere far away, a shadow moved, watching. Because even happy endings in the Thornwood family were only ever the beginning.